Hello everyone, welcome back to Cliff Soccer Zone. Today we're going to talk about the all-Bundesliga clash in the UEFA Champions League Round of 16 first leg between Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen, in which Bayern Munich won 3-0 over Bayer Leverkusen, which was a game largely defined by the number of errors committed by Bayer Leverkusen, which in my opinion is why the scoreline ended up being the way it was. Essentially, what ended up happening was the start from the game, the manager, Xabi Alonso, who I personally, along with the large majority of the football/soccer world, think is an excellent manager who has a bright future. He last year won the Bundesliga, going unbeaten the entire season, which had never been done before, winning the German Cup, making it all the way to the Europa League final, as well as having that long unbeaten streak across all competitions. But for this particular instance, in this particular game, he got the starting lineup wrong from the get-go, choosing not to play a natural striker and starting a front three with Jeremy Frimpong, who's typically a natural left back or left wing back, or even can play winger as well. He's very free. Xabi Alonso lets him have a lot of freedom going up and down the wing. But he started the front three with Frimpong, Amin Adli, who it can play striker, but he's more of a winger slash a forward versus a natural striker. And then obviously the German wonder kid, Florian Wirtz, in right behind them at the 10, behind the two strikers. But in my opinion, it was a totally incorrect lineup to start, especially when you had both Patrick Schick, who's having an incredible year for Bayer Leverkusen this year, scoring over 20-plus goals, as well as a now healthy Victor Boniface, who it has been a stalwart in Xabi Alonso's team over the past few seasons, which is why I found it very strange that for this particular game, Xabi Alonso chose not to play with the striker, which, as I said, in my opinion, got Bayer Leverkusen off on the wrong foot right from the get-go, in my opinion. But going back to the actual game itself, not just including the lineup, but you have Michael Olise for Bayern Munich's first goal. Michael Olise with a beautiful cross into the box, finding Harry Kane, who comes out essentially almost out of nowhere and heads the ball in the back of the net with the very typical Harry Kane headed goal. And goals like that are why Bayern Munich paid the big bucks to get him from Tottenham. And at least from the goal scoring aspect of it, last season was the first year Bayern Munich hadn't won a trophy in a long time, but the goal-scoring output-wise, as well as even the assist numbers, Harry Kane has been worth every penny in that regard, specifically with the sheer number output that he's put out since he's joined the Bavarian side. But as I said, it was a beautiful goal from Harry Kane, and that gave Bayern Munich the 1-0 lead relatively early on. Then you had the instance where Kimmich crosses the ball into the box, and Matej Kovac, who typically is not the main starting goalkeeper yet, because you still have Lukas Hradecky, who still is getting up there in age, but he still plays a decent amount. But there's essentially like a line of succession where Kovac is expected to be the long-term successor for Hradecky in the goalkeeping position for Bayer Leverkusen. But the ball's crossed in, Matej Kovac tries to catch the ball, isn't able to catch the ball, and the ball falls right to Jamal Musiala, who hits the ball in the back of the net, making it 2-0 Bayern Munich, which, as I said, was usually a goalkeeper. 99.9% of goalkeepers are catching that ball. It wasn't like he was really challenged or anything. He was wide open and should have been easily able to come down with the ball. As I said, isn't able to control the ball. Ball falls to Musiala. Musiala puts it in. So a massive error from the Bayer Leverkusen goalkeeper. Later on in the match, then you have Nori Mukiele going in already on a yellow card and then getting his second yellow card, putting Bayer Leverkusen down to 10 men while already down 2-0, and which is a very hard. It's very hard to come back from a 2-0 game based on the way the game was going anyway. But it essentially made it almost impossible for the fact that Bayer Leverkusen were going to come back. In that instance, once they went down to 10 men, the game was effectively over. And to make matters even worse, another error from Bayer Leverkusen, Tapsoba decides to essentially hug Harry Kane and bring him hold him and grab him, and then Harry Kane, which he typically is something that he's actually pretty good at in terms of winning fouls in that situation, goes down, and based on the way it looked from the VAR decided to award the penalty due to Tapsoba essentially grappling Harry Kane down to the ground. Yes, you could argue it was a very soft penalty, and Granit Xhaka even said as much, that made a comment after the game that he, obviously being an ex-Arsenal and ex-Premier League player, having interactions with Harry Kane, said that in the Premier League, Michael Oliver would not have given that penalty, which I actually disagree with Granit Xhaka, given the fact that Harry Kane, especially in his time in the Premier League, won lots of penalties doing exactly that. So I'm not sure I entirely agree with Granit Xhaka's point there that penalty wouldn't have been given in the Premier League. But as I said, I think it was a very naive thing from Tapsoba to do. As I said, the VAR, the penalty isn't given on the pitch by Michael Oliver, but then the VAR recommends Michael Oliver to view the screen. Michael Oliver then awards the penalty to Bayern Munich, and then Harry Kane steps up, converts from the penalty spot, getting his brace and putting the game at 3-0, the tie almost effectively. Yes, there is the possibility that Bayer Leverkusen could theoretically come back. Teams have come back from being 3-0 down in the first leg in the Champions League as well as European competition. But based on the way the game has gone in terms of Leverkusen giving up making these silly mistakes, which is something at least this season compared to last season, they were a lot more, had a lot more solidity. They had a lot more defensive stability, is the correct word, but defensive stability last season than they did this season. And where they've had instances where they've had lack of concentrations and it's caused them to drop too many points in the Bundesliga, but it's also shown somewhat, not as much in the Champions League, but this game was where it was totally visible that essentially Bayer Leverkusen were making mistake after mistake. And yes, the first goal that Bayern Munich scored was completely all on their own. They didn't necessarily, I wouldn't classify that as an error compared to the other two goals. But as I said, the other two goals for sure, as well as Xabi Alonso foolishly deciding not to play a striker, which effectively hurt his chance to put Bayer Leverkusen out on the wrong foot from the get-go. And the one chance that Bayer Leverkusen, the one shot on target, fell to Frimpong. And Frimpong, yes, Neuer made an excellent save in preventing Frimpong from scoring the goal. But at least in my opinion, if that shot, if that was Patrick Schick or even Victor Boniface, I think the chances of that goal going in increase arguably tenfold, in my opinion. Not saying that Frimpong isn't a good goal scorer for a wing back or a wing or whatever position Xabi Alonso decides to play him in, but he's not a striker. And same thing with Adli, not a striker. Wirtz as well. Wirtz can theoretically play the false nine a bit, but again, not a striker. As I said, I just personally do not understand why Xabi Alonso didn't play Patrick Schick, especially given how well Patrick Schick has performed this season for Bayer Leverkusen. But as I said, this game largely defined by Bayer Leverkusen's errors across the board for the manager. As I said, you had Kovac not catching the cross into the box, and then you also had the second yellow card from Mukulele. Then you had the arguably very stupid or naive, whatever term you want to use, Tapsoba essentially grappling Harry Kane down. Yes, Harry Kane makes more of it than he makes the most of it, but that's just being an experienced player. And as I said, the game largely defined by Bayer Leverkusen's errors. But we'll have to end up seeing what happens in the second leg, in the return, the second leg, which is going to Leverkusen. The first leg was in Munich, but with it being 3-0 going into the second leg, and given how the number of errors as well as the fact that Bayer Leverkusen tend to struggle to keep clean sheets, which is at least the terminology for a shutout, but they essentially are going to need to score the 3 goals and then also be able to keep a clean sheet, which in my opinion is a lot to ask for a team like Bayer Leverkusen, especially going up against the potent attack of Bayern Munich. So that's pretty much it for this particular video. Would appreciate it if you guys could leave a like, leave a comment. Appreciate if you could subscribe. And if you want more content as well, I have my Twitter /X @CliffSoccerZone as well. And would appreciate if you guys interacted with the comment. Again, thanks for watching. Take care.